There is one question, just one, that exposes a narcissist instantly. Not by attacking them, not by arguing with them, but by forcing them into the one place they cannot survive, clarity. Narcissists thrive in confusion, manipulation, and emotional chaos. They twist words, shift blame, and make you doubt your own reality. But Stoic wisdom teaches a simple truth: when someone fears honesty, all you need is the right question to reveal who they truly are. In this video, you'll discover the single Stoic question that disarms a narcissist, breaks their strategies, and gives you back your power, without raising your voice, without reacting, and without losing your inner peace. 1. Understanding the narcissist's core. A narcissist isn't dangerous because they are strong, but because they are fragile. Their entire identity is built on an illusion, the illusion of being superior, special, untouchable. On the surface, they appear confident, charismatic, and in control. But underneath that mask lies a deep fear of being exposed. And everything they do, every manipulation they use, comes from that fear. A narcissist has three fundamental psychological needs: control, admiration, and validation. When these needs are met, they act charming and reasonable. But when you stop feeding their ego, even slightly, their real nature appears. They become defensive, aggressive, or passive-aggressive. They blame, twist your words, or make you feel guilty. Not because you did something wrong, but because they're losing the fuel that keeps their identity alive. From a Stoic perspective, this behavior makes perfect sense. The Stoics taught that people who lack inner stability depend on external things, approval, attention, power, to feel whole. A narcissist is exactly that, someone controlled by externals. Their happiness, their identity, even their sense of worth depend entirely on what others give them. That's why they react so strongly whenever they feel questioned or challenged. To deal with them, you must first understand this simple truth: a narcissist cannot survive clarity. Their power exists only in confusion, in emotional fog, in the chaos they create around you. And this is exactly why a single Stoic question can expose them instantly. 2. Why Stoicism is the perfect shield. Stoicism is not about being emotionless, it's about being unmanipulable. It teaches you to control your internal world so deeply that external behaviors, including manipulation, lose their power over you. And when dealing with a narcissist, that is your greatest weapon. The Stoics believe that you cannot control other people, only your reactions, your judgments, and your decisions. This principle alone dismantles the entire strategy of a narcissist. Their power depends on controlling your emotions, provoking reactions, and making you doubt yourself. But when you respond with Stoic calm, their tactics collapse. A narcissist thrives when you overreact, defend yourself, or try to prove your worth, because these reactions give them control. But the Stoic mindset teaches you to remain centered, to observe instead of absorb, to question instead of react. When you master this, their manipulation becomes visible, almost predictable. The Stoics also emphasized clarity and truth. Marcus Aurelius wrote that, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." By choosing clarity over confusion, reason over emotion, you remove the fog in which a narcissist hides. They cannot twist your reality if you stay anchored in what you know to be true. In essence, Stoicism gives you the exact opposite of what a narcissist needs. You become calm instead of reactive, clear instead of confused, stable instead of controlled. And that is why confronting them with a single, precise question works so effectively. 3. The powerful question that exposes a narcissist. Here it is, the question that exposes a narcissist instantly. Simple. Calm. Impossible for them to handle. What do you mean by that? At first glance, it looks harmless. But psychologically, it is devastating. This single question forces clarity, and clarity is the one environment where narcissists cannot survive. Why? Because a narcissist's power comes from implication, not explanation. They use vague comments, subtle insults, emotional traps, and ambiguous statements to destabilize you. They rely on you reacting emotionally, defending yourself, or trying to interpret what they really meant. But when you calmly ask, "What do you mean by that?" you flip the dynamic instantly. Suddenly, they must explain. They must be precise. They must justify their words. And that is their biggest weakness. A narcissist hates being pinned down. They avoid responsibility, avoid clarity, and avoid any situation where their manipulative intentions become visible. This question forces them into the open. It exposes whether they were trying to insult you, manipulate you, or gaslight you. It also removes their favorite weapon, emotional chaos. Instead of reacting with hurt or anger, you respond with reason, with composure. You shine a light on their tactics. And the moment they can no longer hide inside ambiguity, you see who they truly are. This is why Stoicism is so powerful. The Stoics believe that clarity is a form of strength, and confusion is a form of weakness. By asking this question, you reclaim control without raising your voice, without attacking, without losing your peace. It's not a confrontation. It's an exposure. And nothing destabilizes a narcissist more than being seen clearly. 4. How narcissists react when you ask this. When you calmly ask a narcissist, "What do you mean by that?" you trigger the one thing they fear most, accountability. And their reaction is the proof. A narcissist cannot respond to clarity without exposing themselves, so they usually fall into one of four predictable patterns. 1. They get irritated or angry. Narcissists rely on emotional dominance. When you don't react the way they expect, they feel threatened. Their anger is not a sign of strength, it's a sign that their manipulation just failed. 2. They dodge the question. They will change the subject, pretend they weren't serious, or say something like, "You know what I meant." This is the perfect indicator that their intention was manipulative. If they had nothing to hide, they would simply clarify. 3. They reverse the blame. A classic move. "Why are you making a big deal out of nothing? You're too sensitive." By attacking your reaction, they try to distract from their original behavior. But the moment they refuse to answer, the truth becomes obvious. 4. They play the victim. If all else fails, they'll act offended, hurt, or misunderstood. This is their final shield, emotional manipulation. But when you stay calm and neutral, their performance loses all its power. From a Stoic perspective, these reactions are not surprising. Narcissists are controlled by their impulses, their ego, and their need to protect their image. When clarity shines on them, they panic. And that's the lesson. Their reaction reveals more about them than their words ever could. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove anything. Just observe, and you'll see exactly who they are. 5. Stoic tactics to stay calm while asking it. The power of the question doesn't come from the words themselves. It comes from the state of mind you're in when you ask it. If you show emotion, the narcissist will attack it. If you show fear, they will exploit it. But if you stay calm, grounded, and unreactive, the question becomes a weapon they cannot disarm. Here are the 3 Stoic tactics that allow you to ask it with unshakable composure. 1. The pause before you speak. The Stoics train themselves to pause before reacting. When the narcissist says something manipulative, take one breath. This micropause breaks their emotional momentum and keeps you from falling into their trap. When you speak after a pause, you speak from clarity, not from emotion. 2. Separate facts from interpretations. Narcissists want you to react to what you think they meant, not what they actually said. Stoicism teaches you to separate the event, their words. Your judgment, your interpretation of their intention. By focusing only on the facts, your mind stays calm. And from that calmness, the question flows naturally. What do you mean by that? 3. Control the tone, not the narcissist. Stoicism isn't about controlling others, it's about controlling yourself. Say the question slowly, evenly, with no emotional charge. No sarcasm, no hostility, no defensiveness. Just clarity. A neutral tone is impossible for a narcissist to manipulate, because there's nothing for them to hook onto. When you use these tactics together, something powerful happens. The narcissist's emotional chaos hits a wall that it cannot penetrate. Your calmness becomes your shield. Your clarity becomes your strength. And the question becomes undeniable. 6. What happens when you maintain stoic control? When you stay calm while dealing with a narcissist, something remarkable happens. You break the psychological structure they rely on. Their power comes from provoking reactions, creating confusion, and controlling the emotional atmosphere. But when you maintain stoic control, you remove all three. And without them, they lose influence over you instantly. First, your calmness exposes the truth. Narcissists expect you to defend yourself, explain yourself, or react emotionally. When you do none of that, their intentions become painfully visible, even to them. Your stillness acts like a mirror, reflecting their behavior back at them without distortion. Second, you stop feeding their ego. A narcissist depends on emotional energy, admiration, fear, anger, guilt. But stoic composure gives them nothing. No reaction to manipulate. No emotion to twist. No confusion to exploit. They quickly realize that their usual tactics no longer work. Third, you regain psychological power. Not by dominating them, but by disentangling yourself from their games. Your calmness communicates a message stronger than any argument. You do not control me. And that message destabilizes them more deeply than any confrontation could. Finally, you protect your inner peace, which is the ultimate stoic victory. Instead of being pulled into their emotional storm, you remain anchored, unshaken, centered. You choose clarity over chaos, reason over impulse, self-control over reaction. And once a narcissist sees that nothing they do can move you, they either back down, or expose themselves further. In both cases, you win. 7. The final stoic principle that sets you free. At the end of all this, there is one stoic principle that completely frees you from the influence of any narcissist, a principle so simple, yet so liberating. You are only responsible for what you say and do, not for how others react. This truth changes everything. A narcissist wants you to carry their emotions, their insecurities, their chaos. They want you to feel guilty when they explode, responsible when they manipulate, and ashamed when they twist the truth. They want you to think you caused their reaction. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. Every person owns their behavior. You control your actions, they control theirs. No amount of manipulation can change that fundamental reality. When you ask the question, "What do you mean by that?" and they react with anger, avoidance, or blame, that reaction belongs to them, not to you. It reveals their character, not your wrongdoing. This is the ultimate freedom. You stop taking responsibility for other people's emotional storms. Once you embrace this principle, a narcissist loses their final form of control, the power to make you feel responsible for their dysfunction. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for things you didn't do. You stop walking on eggshells. You stop absorbing their chaos. Instead, you stand firm in your own character. And that is the essence of Stoicism. To live with clarity, with dignity, with self-mastery, regardless of who stands in front of you. In the end, you don't defeat the narcissist by fighting them. You defeat them by refusing to participate in their game. The question exposes them. Your calmness disarms them. But your stoic principle frees you.